If you blinked, you missed it. One day, Rudy Wetzel was right there, knee-deep in sand, welding broken suspensions, pulling off impossible recoveries with Matt's off-road recovery. And the next? Gone. No big farewell, no long goodbye, just out. For years, he was the guy behind the scenes who somehow stole the show. Quiet, calm, ridiculously talented. The kind of guy who didn't say much, but didn't need to. He just made things work. If a truck was stuck, Rudy had a winch. If a frame was cracked, Rudy had a welder. He wasn't just part of the team. He was the glue. So when fans noticed he wasn't in the videos anymore, they started asking questions. Where's Rudy? He okay? Why hasn't anyone mentioned him? And then, almost out of nowhere, a new channel popped up. Rudy's Adventure and Design. New name, new builds, new direction. And still, no real explanation. No sit-down video, no Instagram post saying, I'm starting something new. Just quiet distance and a clean break. Which raised an even bigger question. Did Rudy leave? Or was he pushed out? Because the deeper fans looked, the more complicated things started to get. And what they found next, it didn't just surprise them, it made them question everything they thought they knew about Rudy's departure. When Rudy's Adventure in Design officially launched in early 2022, fans were excited but also confused. After all, this was the same Rudy who had been in nearly every Matt's off-road recovery episode for years. No matter the wreck, no matter the weather, Rudy was there. Focused, reliable, always working, rarely talking. So why the sudden change? There was no mention of it on Matt's channel, no passing comment, no featured goodbye, just new faces slowly replacing Rudy, and a growing silence where he used to be. It didn't feel like a clean handoff. It felt unresolved. Some loyal viewers tried to explain it away. He just wanted to do his own thing. Matt probably gave him his blessing. It was time. But others weren't convinced, because while Rudy's new channel had all the creativity and raw fabrication energy fans loved, it lacked one thing, a connection to his past. There were no collaborations, no shout-outs, not even a shared recovery. It was almost like both sides had agreed, without saying it out loud, to pretend the other didn't exist. Then something odd happened. A Reddit post surfaced where someone claimed Rudy had responded to a fan comment saying, "It wasn't my choice to leave." The reply was quickly deleted, but not before a few users took screenshots. Was that real? Was it taken out of context? Or was it something he wasn't supposed to say? Either way, the message was clear. This wasn't just a peaceful exit. There was more to the story, and what fans uncovered next only deepened the mystery. When Rudy's Adventure and Design launched, it came in fast, with full-throttle energy and no apology. One week he was MIA on more, and the next he was back in the spotlight, building drift trucks, chopping frames, and taking fabrication to the next level. From the jump, fans could feel the difference. Rad wasn't about slick recoveries or backcountry rescues. It was raw, greasy, and garage-born. Rudy was designing suspension systems, tuning turbo builds, and welding with that same laser focus he'd always had. But this time, it was 100% on his terms. No background noise, no narration, no distractions, just Rudy, the machines, and the work. And for a while, it looked like he'd landed on his feet. The views came rolling in, subscribers showed up fast, the merch dropped. His builds started gaining traction online, especially the 1973 Chevy drift truck, the budget rock crawler build, and that monster Ultra 4 project with hand-built everything. But here's the part that caught some viewers off guard. It felt a little lonely. Gone were the lighthearted team moments, the inside jokes, the camaraderie of more. Rudy's videos were good, but they were quiet. No sidekicks, no banter. Just one man in a shop, working hard, saying little. And then there were the production gaps. Some early episodes had audio issues. Others had choppy pacing. The camera work was basic. Fans noticed. It was clear that Rudy was missing something More R had always provided. A full production team. He was doing it all himself now. Every weld, every edit, every upload, and it showed. Still, the fans stayed. The builds were too good to ignore. But a question began to grow louder in the comment sections. Did Rudy actually want to do this alone? Or was he left with no other choice? That's when things on Reddit took a turn, and the story went from quiet curiosity to full-blown speculation. If you wanted answers, you weren't getting them from Matt's off-road recovery, and you weren't getting them from Rudy either. But on Reddit, that's where the real digging began. Within weeks of Rudy's quiet disappearance from Morar, threads started lighting up. Fans began comparing upload dates, tracking team rosters, analyzing behind-the-scenes shots, trying to find any clue that explained what really went down. And then came the fuel. Screenshots of a now-deleted comment showed Rudy allegedly replying to a fan who asked why he left the channel. His answer? It wasn't my choice. Boom. Just like that, speculation exploded. Some thought he was pushed out over creative differences. Others believed it was a business disagreement that spiraled. A few even floated the idea that family tension might have played a role, since Matt and Rudy were known to be related, possibly father and son, or uncle and nephew depending on who you ask. But the loudest sign that something was off? The silence. No crossover content. No friendly mention. Not even a passing reference. Matt's channel moved forward with a new lineup of mechanics and fabricators, and Rudy's name vanished completely. Like he'd never been there, which was weird, because Rudy had been a fan favorite. You don't just erase someone who helped build the brand, unless you have a reason. Then came the subtle signs. In old Morar videos, clips featuring Rudy started getting trimmed. New faces were edited in. Comments mentioning Rudy seemed to disappear faster than normal, and people noticed. Across Reddit, fans shared stories of their comments getting removed or downvoted for asking simple questions like, why isn't Rudy in the crew anymore? Will Rudy ever come back? What happened between them? No answers, no responses, just a growing sense that something had gone wrong and no one wanted to talk about it. But then finally, Rudy did talk, sort of. For months, Rudy said nothing. No interviews, no reaction videos, no cryptic tweets, just him, his shop, and a YouTube channel that kept growing one build at a time. Then, out of nowhere, he talked. In a low-key sit-down interview on a smaller YouTube channel, Decent Garage, Rudy finally opened up. Not in a dramatic tell-all, not in a here's the truth clickbait headline. Just calm, quiet clarity. His style. When asked directly why he left Matt's off-road recovery, Rudy gave a simple answer. I wanted to focus on my own projects. He explained how the daily recovery schedule made it nearly impossible to invest in long-term builds, that he'd always been more interested in fabrication, custom design, and creating vehicles from scratch, not just pulling them out of ditches. To most people, that would have been a perfectly reasonable reason to go solo. But here's the thing, it didn't quite match everything else. Because when the interviewer pushed just a little further, asking if the move was entirely his decision, Rudy paused. Then he said something that stuck with fans. It was just time, things had to change. That wasn't a no. That wasn't a yes. It was careful, and if you read between the lines, it felt like there was more under the surface. He didn't mention Matt, not once. No gratitude, no bitterness, no acknowledgement at all. And if you knew anything about Rudy, that silence meant something. This wasn't just a case of someone chasing their dream. This was someone leaving quietly and possibly out of necessity. Still, he handled it with class. No accusations, no gossip, just a firm focus on the future and his own path. He didn't throw dirt. He didn't drag anyone through the mud. But he didn't pretend everything was fine either. The message was clear. He was moving on, whether it was his idea or not. And that left fans with a strange mix of admiration and even more questions. What really happened behind the scenes? Why did it feel like a falling out, even if no one ever said so? Was Rudy protecting someone or protecting himself? Whatever the truth was, Rudy was focused on what came next, and what he built from scratch was impossible to ignore. Rudy didn't just leave, he reinvented. From the outside, Rudy's adventure in design looks like a success story. He's pulling off full vehicle builds, fabricating from scratch, and taking on projects that most off-road YouTubers wouldn't even attempt. Whether it's that wild drift truck, the hand-built Ultra 4 crawler, or the gnarly Jeep suspension mods, it's clear the guy has real vision. And the channel? It grew fast. He hit 100K subscribers in under a year. Views on his top videos cracked six figures. His merch store is up and running with everything from flags to hoodies to tool rolls. But that's just the highlight reel. Behind the scenes, things have been more complicated. Some longtime fans noticed the cracks early on. Shaky video quality, rough audio, long gaps between uploads. Others commented that the pacing felt slow, the energy different, or that something was missing. And that something wasn't just production value, It was connection. Rad wasn't a team like Moore, it was a one-man show. And while the builds were cool, some viewers missed the group dynamic, the personalities, the sense of camaraderie that made Moore so bingeable. And then there was the elephant in the room. Rudy was still completely disconnected from Matt's world. No comments, no cameos, no reunion content at off-road expos or events. Even when they were both present, it wasn't just a split, it was a blackout. Some fans speculated that there was a gentleman's agreement behind the scenes, a quiet understanding to keep the distance and move on without stirring the pot. Others believed the tension had never fully cooled, and that time alone hadn't healed the wound. Either way, Rudy was committed. He kept grinding, kept uploading, kept building, and slowly his audience began to shift. Less more crossover fans, more gearheads, more welders, more hardcore builders who cared less about drama and more about engineering. Rudy had found his tribe. It just wasn't the one he started with. But even as Rad gained momentum, one question lingered in every comment section, every Reddit thread, every fan forum. Will Rudy and Matt ever reconnect? Or is this break final? Because after everything, the years of working side by side, the recoveries, the builds, the shared brand identity, the silence still speaks louder than words. Rudy didn't just leave, he reinvented. From the outside, Rudy's adventure in design looks like a success story. He's pulling off full vehicle builds, fabricating from scratch, and taking on projects that most off-road YouTubers wouldn't even attempt. Whether it's that wild drift truck, the hand-built Ultra 4 crawler, or the gnarly Jeep suspension mods, it's clear the guy has real vision. And the channel? It grew fast. He hit 100K subscribers in under a year. Views on his top videos cracked six figures. His merch store is up and running with everything from flags to hoodies to tool rolls. But that's just the highlight reel. Behind the scenes, things have been more complicated. Some longtime fans noticed the cracks early on. Shaky video quality, rough audio, long gaps between uploads. Others commented that the pacing felt slow, the energy different, or that something was missing. And that something wasn't just production value, it was connection. Rad wasn't a team like Moore, it was a one-man show. And while the builds were cool, some viewers missed the group dynamic, the personalities, the sense of camaraderie that made Moore so bingeable. And then there was the elephant in the room. Rudy was still completely disconnected from Matt's world. No comments, no cameos, no reunion content at off-road expos or events. Even when they were both present, it wasn't just a split, it was a blackout. Some fans speculated that there was a gentleman's agreement behind the scenes, a quiet understanding to keep the distance and move on without stirring the pot. Others believed the tension had never fully cooled, and that time alone hadn't healed the wound. Either way, Rudy was committed. He kept grinding, kept uploading, kept building, and slowly his audience began to shift. Less more crossover fans, more gearheads, more welders, more hardcore builders who cared less about drama and more about engineering. Rudy had found his tribe. It just wasn't the one he started with. But even as Rad gained momentum, one question lingered in every comment section, every Reddit thread, every fan forum. Will Rudy and Matt ever reconnect? Or is this break final? Because after everything, the years of working side by side, the recoveries, the builds, the shared brand identity, the silence still speaks louder than words. By now, most people have picked a side. Some say Rudy outgrew Matt's off-road recovery. Others believe something deeper went wrong behind the scenes. Some fans still cling to the idea of a reunion, a future crossover episode where the silence finally breaks and old friends reconnect. But the reality? We don't actually know what happened, not the full story. There's no official statement, no final episode, no Instagram post or podcast reveal. Just a man who quietly stepped away, built something new, and left a gap that no one else has been able to fill. And that silence? It says more than any rant or public fallout ever could. Think about it. In the world of YouTube, where drama is currency and creators chase views by airing dirty laundry, Rudy chose quiet. He didn't call anyone out. He didn't defend himself. He just moved on. And yet, the tension still lingers. You see it every time a fan comments, "I miss Rudy on More R." Will he ever come back? What really happened? You see it in the way people analyze his interviews, watch for tiny clues in his videos, or dissect Matt's silence like it's part of some bigger puzzle. But maybe that's the point. Maybe Rudy doesn't want to explain it all. Maybe he doesn't owe anyone an answer. Or maybe the truth is just too complicated to say out loud, because what started as a clean break now feels like something else, something more personal, more emotional, more unfinished. And that's what keeps people watching, not just for the builds, not just for the rigs, but for the story that never got its ending. Rudy didn't disappear. He transformed. He took a quiet exit, turned it into a new beginning, and built a brand from the ground up. Rudy's adventure in design isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a statement, a declaration that you don't need to chase drama to build something meaningful. But still, the mystery remains. Why did he really leave? Was it business? Was it personal? Was he forced out, or did he simply walk away? We've heard the official version, we've seen the Reddit theories, we've watched the videos, paused the interviews, and analyzed every missing frame. But maybe the real story isn't something we'll ever fully understand. Maybe it's not a single moment or conflict. Maybe it's just life, messy, evolving, and not always meant to be explained. What we do know is this: Rudy was a massive part of Matt's off-road recovery, and now he's building something just as meaningful, without the spotlight, without the noise, and without ever losing his edge. And whether or not there's ever a reunion, whether or not we ever hear the full story, Rudy's made one thing crystal clear: he's not looking back. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real ending to this story.